All right, guys, welcome back. We are in week 7 of the female fat loss hacks. And in today's training, we are going to be talking about habits. So I'm really excited about this week. This is something that I like to put a lot of focus on, and you're going to see what really is sort of the key to hacking habits today. And what we're going to be really talking about is specifically mindfulness around habits. Now, the term, well, actually, real quick. So just so you know, like this, again, this is a reason why, sorry about that. This is the reason why I like to prioritize mindset and movement at the base of the pyramid. So as far as like fat loss goes, this is what is important. Mindset and mindfulness is at the base. It is literally sets you up for the ability to have the right habits for your physiological body to burn body fat. And then from there on up, it's movement, meals, and metabolics. And it's just so funny to me that so many people are spending all their time and effort on the top of the pyramid when really the bottom of the pyramid is what sets you up for success. Okay. Now, the term mindfulness is this new new age term that a lot of people get turned off by because they think it's all about sitting up on top of a mountain, meditating and saying, and it's really not. So mindfulness really is about getting in touch with the inner feelings that you're having and why you're doing what you're doing. And let me be very clear about this, because if you want change, if you're really wanting to make change in your life, research has shown conclusively that mindfulness training is the absolute best way to do this. By training your brain to behave in a particular way, you cannot do it without learning and practicing mindfulness, the ability to be aware of what is going on within you, okay, with your thoughts and your actions and the patterns that you have. And so we really need to get mindful about habits, these automatic habits. And the first thing you need to understand about habits is to understand that the brain makes habits for a very specific reason. It likes to conserve energy. Anytime that you have to make a decision, anytime that you have to make a choice, anytime you do any kind of self-editing, anytime that you feel guilty or any of these things, it uses up energy. And what researchers have shown is that the more self-editing you do, basically, in other words, the more choices that you make, the more stress that you're under and the more sort of mental activity you have to engage in. And the faster your willpower battery or your self-control battery gets drained, okay? And so the brain has this nifty little way of making it so you do not have to make any decisions or make many decisions, because it just forms these automatic habits, these sort of automatic decisions that go on in the background that you may be unaware of, okay? And the problem, we'll stay here. The problem is that these automatic decisions, that your brain is forming to save energy can sometimes not be serving you, okay? And can end up draining your battery later on and making you less likely to have the self-control to say no to, sweets and salty, fatty foods. And so some of you might be wondering, why am I talking about self-control and willpower as a battery? And the reason why is because researchers has shown that conclusively that self-control and willpower is not something that you have or you don't have. It's not something that you're just born with or not born with. It's something that you can actually train for and that you can build as a skill. And some people have these little tiny batteries with very little charge, and their self-control, their battery's just very low. They can't say no to certain things, and they always find themselves slipping back on their diet or not getting to the gym or just making poor choices that aren't aligned with their goals. Others have these really large batteries, right, with lots of charge in the battery. And these are the people who are typically, have or are practicing mindfulness in some way and are able to have these very big, large willpower batteries and self-control batteries with a ton of charge behind it. So let's talk about these habits that the brain likes to form to conserve energy, okay? Because if you can construct good habits, if you can build good habits, all of a sudden you can have a situation where you're doing things that, you thought took a lot of work before or a lot of conscious effort, and now they don't take much effort at all, okay? Like when you go to a restaurant, instead of getting soda or sweet tea, you automatically order water. Or when you're sitting at home on the couch, watching TV or Netflix or something, you're not munching on chips and drinking wine, but instead you're probably, you're eating some fruit or maybe some veggies, or not eating anything at all and just drinking water. Or when you get really stressed out and overwhelmed from life, you don't go for the convenient snacky foods in the pantry, but you go for a walk instead. All right. So let's go through this really quickly. So here's how habits work. First of all, in your environment, there's something called the habit loop. Okay. There'll be a trigger or a reminder, okay, that in your environment, and this is going to be something that's going on around you that triggers or reminds you to go ahead and kick in its habit. And that results in a routine, okay? And the brain then is doing this whole routine because it's sort of seeking a reward, okay? And that whole thing, the trigger or the reminder, okay, that results in a routine that you do then creates this reward. Okay, so the trigger, there's some type of trigger, it creates a routine because what you're ultimately after is a reward, and you think that this reward is actually going to solve whatever problem you have, whatever you're after. Okay, and what happens is we end up getting like a craving that perpetuates this habit. So I know that's a little abstract, so let's go ahead and get into this a little bit in a more detailed example. So let's say you get home from work, and let's say you come in the door, you turn on the TV, or computer or something. You find yourself, night after night going into the cupboard, grabbing some crackers and dip, or pouring a glass of wine or something, going and sitting down and watching TV and munching on, the chips, snacks, whatever it is that you have. And so the reminder is coming home from work. And the routine is turning the TV on, okay, and pouring the glass of wine and getting the snack and coming down and munching on it. And the reward is what? Okay, that's the part where mindfulness comes in, because we don't always know what the reward is. But let's assume in this case, the reward is relaxation after a long day of work. And you develop then a craving for this routine. You enjoy it. You crave it. Sometimes you might even be like, after a little while, like, this isn't serving me. I know it's not serving me, and I know it's getting in the way of me losing weight and changing my body, but I can't stop doing it. And that's because the brain is on this loop, okay? It has this loop on repeat, and it's very difficult to interrupt it. And so the question is, how do you interrupt a habit loop? You interrupt a habit loop by first knowing that you're in a habit loop. You have to catch the habit loop when it happens. You need to catch the trigger, okay? Be aware of the routine and understand the reward. And the only way that you can do that is to practice mindfulness, okay? And this is what we need to be aware of during all the stress eating that is going on around, anytime it happens. You get stressed, that's the trigger, and your routine is to go for food, rather than understanding, well, maybe I just need some relaxation, or maybe it is that you actually need food. Maybe that's what you're actually hungry for. And if that's the case, that's different. Okay. But if you're seeking out a relaxation, and you're using it through food, you're thinking that food is going to be what soothes you, then that's not serving you. Okay. Because then you're still stressed after that. You didn't actually, that didn't really relax you, probably in the way that you could do better. Okay. So because we know that the stress of, getting the house ready, there's stresses like getting the house ready, getting gifts, around Christmas time, cooking, all that stuff that happened around the holidays, or, just in general, like, picking up kids, doing all these errands and stuff like that. Those types of things cause an increase, in your appetite for sweets and carbs. Any type of stress, you want to think C for cortisol, C for cravings. Okay. So stress leads to these cravings. And when there's temptations all around us, we need to be really aware of this habit loop, okay? And we need to be aware of whether we are actually hungry or just eating out of boredom or out of emotion, looking for food to soothe us when what we are really after is just a sense of peace and quiet, okay? And research has shown conclusively that people who practice mindfulness, who understand mindfulness, are far better at changing and have very much bigger willpower batteries and are able to make change and create new habits much more easily. My clients and I use our daily walks actually to practice mindfulness. We don't walk to burn calories. That is not why I suggest walking, although, that is a benefit. But I want my clients to walk so they can escape the chaotic, compulsive nature of their brain, of their brain just going on, like just going, basically, and really get it to quiet down and practice mindfulness. And so what I suggest to you to try and do this week as we lead into, as we just continue each week, is to just try to focus on this habit loop and see what triggers you have, see what routines they create and the craving that develops around these things. And understand that everything we're doing around mindfulness, all this mindfulness training is all geared up at helping you notice the trigger, understanding the routine, and understanding the reward. Okay, so I just want you to start with noticing. That's all. Not having to do anything, but this week just practice noticing. Practice noticing things like how your shirt feels on your shoulders, how your feet feel inside your shoes, how food smells to you, how it tastes, how you react to food, all these sort of things as sort of which are underneath your consciousness. And you can do this at any time throughout the day, but I personally like to hone in on it like during a mindful walk. It's a great time to practice it. But you can do it as you're driving. Just feel the steering wheel. When you stop at a light, like notice the things around you, soften your gaze. And once you become insightful about these and start noticing them, then you can begin to perhaps design another trigger or reminder, or perhaps interrupt the routine or put in a different routine and understand what the reward you are after is, so you can devise other habit loops, okay? Other reminders that deliver the reward in a way that is not so detrimental to your goals. So remember that the important part is determining what the reward you're after is. And then, is there another way we can achieve that reward without a mindless, compulsive eating behavior? So that's the habit loop and how, and mindfulness and how to attack it. And I hope you guys get, practice that this week. Oh, there we go. Yeah, we basically talked about that. Oh, and then also I just wanted to go over real quick. I forgot I had this slide here, but these are the big rock habits. Like these are kind of like the major habits that you want to be looking at. And what I would also like you to do, along with noticing, everything, just being aware of any habit loops that you have this week, but take a look and see out of these 6 things, which ones are you already doing? Which one of these habits are you already doing? And which ones do you need to maybe focus on more? And maybe we can start to implement those into our habit loops. All right, guys, that's it for this week. We'll see you in the next video.